Today, I am proud to create him Prince of Wales, with Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales.
The claim that King Charles III abruptly stripped power from Queen Camilla and handed it to Catherine, Princess of Wales, has stirred up a storm of speculation, largely because it taps into long-running tensions and perceptions about the modern monarchy. At the heart of the narrative is the idea that Camilla was never truly meant to occupy the role she now holds. Back when Charles and Camilla married in 2005, the public messaging strongly suggested she would remain princess consort rather than ever being known as queen. That distinction wasn't random. It reflected the lingering shadow of Princess Diana and the deep public resistance to Camilla at the time. The monarchy, fully aware of public sentiment, appeared to be making a compromise just to stabilize its image. Yet when Charles ascended the throne in 2022, that earlier understanding quietly disappeared, and Camilla was elevated to queen consort with little acknowledgement of the prior promise, leaving many to interpret the shift as a calculated rewrite rather than a natural progression. Even after receiving the title, there have been persistent suggestions that Camilla's influence behind palace walls never fully matched her public status. Reports and insider claims often paint a picture of a figure included in ceremony but excluded from key decision-making processes. While she carried out duties and maintained visibility, major strategic conversations about the monarchy's future, its public positioning, and institutional priorities were allegedly happening elsewhere. In that environment, Catherine's role began to evolve in a way that drew increasing attention. Unlike the traditional expectation that a Princess of Wales focuses primarily on symbolic duties, Catherine gradually stepped into more substantive territory, particularly through her work on early childhood development. By engaging with experts, policymakers, and scientific research, she moved beyond appearances into areas that signaled long-term influence and credibility. This shift became even more pronounced during the personal challenges she faced in 2024 when news of her cancer diagnosis emerged. The public response was immediate and deeply emotional, echoing a kind of connection that had not been seen on such a scale since the death of Diana. People didn't simply observe from a distance, they reacted with genuine concern, empathy, and support. Catherine's composed and measured handling of the situation only reinforced that connection. Rather than retreating entirely or allowing the narrative to spiral, she addressed the public calmly, maintained privacy for her family, and returned to her role on her own terms. That approach not only strengthened her public standing but reportedly elevated her position within the royal institution itself, where resilience and public trust carry enormous weight. At the same time, Charles was navigating his own health challenges, prompting broader questions about continuity and leadership. In that context, attention naturally shifted toward who within the family could sustain the monarchy's relevance and stability. Catherine, alongside Prince William, increasingly appeared to embody that future. Observers began to note subtle but meaningful changes: greater involvement in high-level discussions, increased visibility in significant initiatives, and a sense that her role was no longer confined to preparation for a future position but had become central in the present. For Camilla, this evolving dynamic reportedly created a growing sense of displacement. Rather than a single dramatic confrontation, the change seemed to unfold gradually: fewer consultations, diminished involvement in key decisions, and a noticeable shift in where influence was concentrated. The idea that certain patronages and responsibilities might be reassigned added to the perception that her role was being quietly reduced. In royal terms, patronages are more than ceremonial affiliations. They are a primary mechanism through which influence is exercised. Losing them can signal a deeper institutional realignment. Amid these developments, claims emerged that Camilla sought reassurance about her position, allegedly requesting formal guarantees to protect her status and responsibilities. Whether framed as a demand or a precaution, such a move would reflect a recognition that the internal balance of power was changing. The reported refusal of that request, justified on the grounds of maintaining flexibility, fits a long-standing pattern within the monarchy, where adaptability often takes precedence over fixed commitments. The institution rarely formalizes internal arrangements in ways that could limit its ability to respond to shifting public sentiment or unforeseen circumstances. What appears to be unfolding aligns with Charles's broader vision of a streamlined monarchy. From the outset of his reign, he has emphasized efficiency, reduced numbers, and a focus on individuals who can deliver tangible results and maintain public support. In practical terms, that vision naturally centers on William and Catherine, who consistently rank among the most trusted and popular members of the royal family. Their appeal spans generations, and their approach blends tradition with a more modern, relatable image qualities that are increasingly essential for the monarchy's survival in a rapidly changing world. Camilla's position within that framework is more complicated. While she has undeniably reshaped her public image over the years, transitioning from widespread criticism to a degree of acceptance, her history remains intertwined with one of the most turbulent chapters in royal history. The legacy of Diana continues to influence public perception in subtle but powerful ways. Diana's impact wasn't limited to her lifetime. It established expectations about authenticity, empathy, and connection that continue to shape how royal figures are judged. Catherine's ability to resonate with those expectations has strengthened her standing, while Camilla's association with the past makes it harder for her to fully align with the monarchy's forward-looking narrative. In many ways, this situation reflects a recurring theme in royal history: the distinction between title and power. Holding a crown does not automatically confer influence, and the monarchy has long demonstrated an ability to redefine roles without openly acknowledging the shift. Rather than dramatic removals or public confrontations, changes are typically implemented through gradual adjustments, redistribution of responsibilities, altered access to decision-making, and evolving public roles. It is a method that preserves outward stability while enabling internal transformation. For Charles, the apparent prioritization of Catherine is less about personal preference and more about strategic necessity. The monarchy's continued relevance depends on its ability to maintain public support, and that support increasingly rests with the next generation. By investing in Catherine's role now, he is effectively preparing the institution for a future in which she and William will be central figures. It is a calculated approach, one that prioritizes long-term stability over short-term sensitivities. At a human level, however, the implications are more complex. Camilla's journey to her current position has been marked by decades of scrutiny, criticism, and perseverance. Reaching the role of queen consort only to face the possibility of diminished influence introduces a layer of personal challenge that cannot be ignored. It underscores the reality that within the monarchy, individual experiences are often secondary to the needs of the institution. Decisions are made not solely on the basis of loyalty or history, but on what is perceived to best serve the crown's future. Ultimately, the situation illustrates the delicate balance the monarchy must maintain between continuity and change. While it presents itself as a symbol of tradition, its survival has always depended on its ability to adapt. The current shift, whether as dramatic as some claim or more subtle in reality, signals a recognition that public expectations, generational change, and global scrutiny require a recalibration of roles. In that recalibration, Catherine appears to be emerging as a central figure, not through sudden upheaval, but through a steady accumulation of trust, responsibility,